stars, whoa. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Thursday to you, sir. How are you this morning?
Happy Thursday to you, too.
Mo, great to see you. We got a lot of things to get to this morning. I wanted to start with this. So I said a couple of days ago, we were reporting on some NFL stuff coming out of training camp, and I made a very passive comment, Mo. And I said something to the effect of, it's preseason, it's training camp, it's the dog days, it's the whole grind, and training camp fights happen. And don't make a big deal out of it. They pop up every offseason from time to time. Kelsey was in one a couple of years ago, and people made a much bigger deal out of it than it actually was. Mo, and then we have the Seattle Seahawks, who had not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 fights break out in practice yesterday, one of which had DK Metcalf taking his helmet off and swinging it at a cornerback. Mo, there is a difference between a heat of the moment situation like I think you saw a few days ago with the Lions and the Giants, and I think those joint practice sessions, different story, because they're not your guys, right? It's another team. It's a bunch of guys who are trying to make a name for themselves, to stand out in practice, and now you're doing it against someone you don't got to be around for the next X amount of days. So you're going to push the envelope. You're going to toe the line. Different story when it's a joint practice and you got another team on the field with you. But Mo, when it's your guys and you got 5 in one day, I don't look at that, Mo, and say to myself, it's just training camp. It's just the emotions of the preseason, Mo. 5 in one day, one of your star players taking his helmet off and swinging it at other people, Mo. I look at that and I say, what is head coach Mike Macdonald doing? What kind of program do we got over there? What kind of control does he have on this team? And I understand they stopped the practice at some point yesterday. I don't know when it was, but between which of the 5 fights this practice came to a stop so he could discuss it with the team. But Mo, 5 seems like a little much to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just maybe I just don't understand, Mo, because I've never been to training camp. But I feel like 5 seems like a lot.
5 seems really high. And look, I get it. You've got guys that are literally fighting for their livelihood, right? They're fighting for what they've played for all their life, the opportunity to be a professional football player. So I can understand how things could get heated, how things could occur in the spirit of competition. But like you said, 5, that sounds to me like a team that there's a little lack of leadership. There's some frustration there. That seems excessive. I know we always say, hey, guys get into training camps fights. I get that. But 5 is a lot. Like, if you're going to get into 5 training camp fights, that's almost like a WWE card.
In one day. Now,
Right.
5 throughout the summer, no big deal.
Right.
5 in the week might be like, oh, it's kind of weird. But I don't even think we talk about it. 5 in a day. What are we fighting over? And how are we still fighting come like fight 3? Like,
Right.
why is there not a vet being like, what are we doing? Like, can we knock it off
Where
and
are
just
your
get
vets?
back down to business? Like, 5's a lot in one day. And I don't like the DK. I don't like anyone swinging their helmet at anybody. But we should probably not be doing that either, taking our helmets off and swinging them at people. That gives me. Remember a few years ago we had
Miles
the whole thing?
Garrett.
Yeah. Mason
Look,
Rudolph.
that's scary stuff. I don't care what he said. If you connect the damage you could have done, like that's scary stuff. You're going to get into a fight, then you just fight. But when you start swinging helmets, that's a whole nother element that's very dangerous. So we don't need any of that. We don't want anyone to be seriously injured. Their coach he's got to rein his guys in. Like I get it. You were competing for your jobs. Some guys don't want to be there. They're frustrated. I'm sure some guys don't like their contracts, their situations, and yet this is what you do for a living. You got to conduct yourselves. You can be competitors, but you can also be professionals.
And Mo, this could literally be something where, we never talk about it again moving forward. Like, it could be one of those things, or it could be one of those things, in a month, week 1 of the season, a little fight breaks out on the sidelines of the Seahawks, and we're right back here. Because that's one of those things where you don't know. You don't know the culture of the team, and so you know the culture of a team. And this could literally just be one of those things where new head coach Mike Macdonald is looking at it, and he's saying, listen, they figure it out now. I would much rather you figure it out here in camp. It's a rough day. We're all going to acknowledge it's a rough day later on, but we ain't going to have another one of these because we got it all out today. No issue with that. Or if we're back here next week, and next week there's 4 fights in it, you know what I mean? Now we see a pattern kind of thing. So hopefully, if you're a Seahawks fan, we never talk about this again. It was a rough day. Tensions were high. People were frustrated, and it's a blip. It's a blip, or it's barely a blip at all. But I will tell you, Mo, if in a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, the season begins week 1, we start seeing more of this, then we're going to have to start asking some more questions about what's happening over there with leadership.
I agree 100%. This could be nothing, or it's nothing unless it sparks up again. And again, to your point, for this to happen multiple times going forward, that would be a question of leadership and how the head coach and his assistants are running things there in Seattle. And maybe they're still not quite over the shift, the sea change. Pete Carroll was such a big personality in that organization for all those long years. I look, every coach has a different style. Pete Carroll's style was one of those styles where he's one of the guys, just a great motivator. But not everybody can be a Pete Carroll. So look, I get it. You're a young coach, or you get that first opportunity to run the show. You want to run a tight ship, and you want to make it about competition. I'm there for it, but you just got to be able to rein your guys in to a degree.
We got preseason football tonight, Mo. We got the Panthers and the Patriots at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We got the Lions and the Giants at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, 3 preseason games. So normally what you would see in a normal preseason for an NFL team, week number 1, game number 1 out of 4, you don't see much. Well, this is game 1 out of 3. So usually what happens is one game's the throwaway game, and whether it be game 1 or game 4, depending on how the team wants to do, and then game 3 is the big audition game, and then, they start working guys in for game 2. Now, with only a 3-game preseason slate, different teams do things differently, but there is no longer the throwaway game. The only real throwaway game for the preseason game now is the Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame game is kind of the outlier, and that becomes kind of the throwaway game for when it comes to our preseason slates. So I think we're gonna see Drake May tonight. I think we're gonna see a little Drake May. He's only got 3 preseason games. This is his opportunity to kind of get in there and kind of show a little bit. If you're the Panthers, let's see what that system that Carolina built for anybody, not just their starting quarterback, but for anybody. Let's get a little taste of that. Obviously, with the Lions, their quarterback situation is safe. And then with the New York Giants, I wouldn't call their quarterback situation safe. but we know who their starter is going to be week number 1. But I am a little intrigued to see Drew Lock, because although we don't expect much from the Giants this season, Mo, if you are the New York Giants front office, the last thing that you want is Drew Lock to go out there and have a big preseason. Because if he does, you're already going to have the calls for Daniel Jones to not be the starting quarterback based on what he's already done as the starting quarterback. And if they get off to a rough start, you're going to have the calls for Daniel Jones to get yanked very quickly. So this is a big couple of games coming up for Lock to kind of put out there into the narrative, I'm better, or I'm just as good, or I do certain things better.
And let's not forget, Drew Lock went to the Giants because he was promised an opportunity to compete for the QB1 job, even though Daniel Jones is obviously QB1. So I absolutely think this is a huge opportunity for Drew Lock, and I'm here for it. I actually hope Drew Lock plays great. I want him to put pressure on Giants management along with their coaching staff, along with Daniel Jones, who you and I probably agree on this. We both think at best Daniel Jones is a game manager. That's what I think he is. I think he's a game manager. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. He got franchise quarterback money, but that didn't suddenly change his skill set or who he is. I think Drew Lock, to me, if he plays well, he puts pressure on Daniel Jones to at some point in his audition that last game, Daniel Jones will have to play well. So I do think, and I don't think he can unseat him in the preseason. I don't think that's what I'm saying. But I am saying if the Giants get off to a bad start, a slow start, why wouldn't they look elsewhere to spark their team, starting with QB1?
Rank it with, why does media ask NFL quarterbacks dumb questions? Josh Allen was sitting through, and look at, I'm about to say something for the record. I'm about to say nice things about Josh Allen. All right. What? I don't do this a lot. So I want this on the record. I want it officially logged. Someone take a note of it. It is August 8th. We are about to start, officially the first week of preseason. And I'm sitting over here saying nice things about Josh Allen. Now, mind you, the Dolphins and the Bills play week 3. So I may not say another nice thing about Josh Allen moving forward after this. But Mo, Josh Allen's doing media yesterday, and he was asked maybe one of the stupidest questions I think you could ask a quarterback in Josh Allen's situation. He was asked, do you miss Stefon Diggs? What the hell is Josh Allen supposed to say to that? Now, deep down inside, does Josh Allen miss the talent of Stefon Diggs? He probably does. Has he looked around his wide receiver room, Mo, and had some inner thoughts and been like, man, none of you are Diggs. Now, does he miss Diggs' personality? Probably not. Does he miss the temper tantrums on the sideline? Probably not. But when you're in between the numbers and you're out there battling, and if you can just scramble for 3 or 4 seconds and chuck one down the field, Diggs is going to go chase it down. Yeah. He probably misses that, Mo. But he ain't gonna say it. Why would he say that, Mo?
Right.
So his boys can go back at him after him. Oh, you miss Diggs, huh? I'm not good enough for it. What a dumb question, Mo.
And what is Josh Allen going to say if he gives them anything? He's going to say, I like the guys that we have here. We're working together. We're developing some chemistry. He's going to talk about the guys that he has out there. He's going to focus on that, which totally makes sense to me. The real question is this going forward: what kind of season do we project Josh Allen and the Bills to have? I think they're going to be in the hunt, but maybe I'm alone on this island. I don't see how you can lose everything they've lost on both sides of the football, Chris, and still be at the top of that division. So I'm going to say they're going to be in the hunt, but I don't think they win the division. I think that's going to be a fight for the Dolphins. I think it's the Dolphins' division to win. I think the Bills, I'm going to say it, I think the Bills might finish second. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to have this amazing year that everybody projects, but I think that it's the Dolphins' division to win.
Mo, I said I was going to be nice to Josh Allen. That is how I started this segment off.
You did.
And then you're going to wrap up this segment and you're going to make me be mean to Josh Allen.
I did it?
Yes, it's a yes, you did, because the Bills aren't going to make the playoffs this season.
Oh, you are being mean.
The Bills are finishing third in this division. All right. So maybe they make the last wild card as a third place team in the AFC East. But I have the Dolphins winning the division. I have the Jets finishing second. I will say this, if it's reversed, I would not be surprised, because I think the Jets at their absolute best are better than the Dolphins at their absolute best.
Agreed.
Because the Jets have a better defense than Miami has, and it's not close. The Jets have a bona fide top 3 defense in the NFL. It would be generous to say that Miami has a middle of the pack defense. So if they're both playing at their absolute peak, I think the Jets are a slightly better team than the Dolphins because of their defense. That being said, you look at Buffalo, and Buffalo has so many holes on the defensive side of the football that they did not replace. In fact, Miami got a couple of their players. Thank you, Buffalo. So they didn't fill up their holes on the defensive side of the football. I know Sean McDermott is a great defensive head coach, but now you're asking him to do more with less. And we already had a few questions the last couple of seasons about the Buffalo's Bills defense in key moments. And now I think those questions are only going to get bigger for Buffalo this season. Then you look at the offensive side of the football, and I don't know what Josh Allen is going to be this season. I've heard both sides of it, and I believe both sides of it. It could be his best season ever because he's not forcing the ball to Stephon Diggs, and he has the ability to just hit the open receiver, and he can just take what's in front of him and have nothing else to worry about. I love that, Mo. I think that's an amazing perspective to bring to the table, but I counter that perspective with, do I want a free-thinking version of Josh Allen? Because oftentimes your free-thinking version of Josh Allen turns into the let me go run the football and put my shoulder down and pop someone in the chest version of Josh Allen. And I don't like that version of Josh Allen. I don't like the version of Josh Allen that's extend, because then when it comes time to make a decision, usually his decision, Mo, is not throw the ball away. Usually his decision is extend, force it. And then when he forces it, you get some of those stupid turnovers that he makes once, or not even turnovers. It's decisions. It's one of those dumb decisions he makes 2 or 3 times a game that more often than not leads to at least one turnover. And that's the stuff that I don't like with him. Then I look at the other thing with his offensive wide receivers, and I don't love the fact that he doesn't have a number one. And maybe Dalton Kincaid becomes his one. Maybe that's his security blanket this season. Maybe Dalton Kincaid has a 1,200-yard season because when it's not there, he's dumping it down to Dalton for 6, 7, 8 yards. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe that's what he needs. But is Sean McDermott going to finally establish that running game? And I'm not talking about running Josh Allen. I'm talking about the actual running game with your actual talented running backs on that team. There's so many ifs. And when I look at the Buffalo Bills and I say, okay, best case scenario, Buffalo plays 100 out of 100, but so do the Jets and so do the Dolphins. I can't put Buffalo at second. I can't say that when Buffalo plays at 100 out of 100 with what I see on both sides of the football, that they're better than the Jets at 100 out of 100, or they're better than the Dolphins at 100 out of 100. And we're not prognosticating injuries. We're not sitting here saying that, one person on one of these teams is going to play otherworldly that we didn't expect happening. So if you're just looking at the history of these guys and who they are and saying, if they just play the best we know they can play, I think Buffalo is the third best team in that division.
And I understand your points. And look, to be clear, if we're saying you get the best version of all 3 teams, then the Jets are
great season, by the way.
Right, if you get the best version. But if you get the best version, then the Jets are going to win the division. Because that means you're not just going to have a top 3 defense. You're going to get the best version of Breece Hall. You're going to get something close to MVP Aaron Rodgers. If you're going to get Aaron Rodgers that's even considered an MVP candidate, they're going to win the division because they're the most balanced team on both sides of the ball. They might have the most balanced offense of the 3 teams if you're going to get that version of Aaron Rodgers. My thinking is this, though. I'm not 100% sure I think they've tried to address the weaknesses in their offensive line, but trying to do it, and whether or not it's a success or not, that's to be seen in the regular season when it matters. The guy that they have over there at left tackle, who is a proven commodity, but I want to remind everybody, he's 35 or 36 years old, and he's coming off some injuries. Is he going to hold up at left tackle the bulk of a season? I'm just saying, realistically, I guess I'm more pragmatic. I don't think everybody's going to play their best. It'd be great if everybody played their best. Somebody's not going to play their best. And while I get Buffalo has lost more, I think Buffalo's going to be a more ball control offense to me. I think they're going to run the ball. I think this year they're going to probably have a 12 to 1,500 yard back. I think Josh Allen is going to do more play action, more ball control. I think his tight ends will be his safety blankets. It wouldn't shock me if his tight ends and his running backs are his leading receivers.
Me neither.
You know what I mean? This could be a year where his numbers don't blow you away, but because they control the ball and they milk clock, I think the Bills can win games that way. So, again, best scenario, everybody at their best, Jets win the division, Dolphins are in second, and you're right. Buffalo won't make the playoffs. I don't think they make the playoffs.
Or they could. Buffalo, Miami could both win 10 or 11 games. And then depending on how the rest of the AFC shakes out, if the New York Jets, are the best version of themselves, they're going to win 12 or 13 games, which means Buffalo and Miami, you can still talk double digits for both of them. It's just a matter of where that shakes out in the rest of the AFC. Because Don't forget, we got the AFC North, and you got 4 teams over there that are all saying we're playoff teams. And we know all 4 of them aren't going to the playoffs. But at the same time, if the Steelers win 10 games and Russ plays like he did last year or a little bit better, you're not surprised. If, Deshaun plays what he did the past 2 years, but that defense is consistently good all season and not just half the season, you're not surprised if they win 10 games. You almost want to pencil in the Bengals for double-digit wins. You know that the Ravens are going to pick up double-digit wins. So you look at that and, you're not surprised if that's what starts happening over there. So 10 wins, I think a team could miss the playoffs in the AFC with 10 wins. And that's tough, Mo. That's tough.
But I think that's my point, that the AFC is much more of a gauntlet than the NFC. That's my point. The Bills, Josh Allen could potentially have his best year as an individual talent, and the Bills miss the playoffs if they win 9 or 10 games. They might, you know what I'm saying? He could have a great individual, but by getting them there, and he could still miss the playoffs because the AFC is such a gauntlet. You just talked about the AFC North is insane. And I would say, even with some of their flaws, they have teams, all 4 teams probably match up with the Bills to a degree. The only advantage, obviously, is in a couple of those games, Josh Allen will be the best quarterback, right?
Yeah,
he's going to be a better quarterback than what Cleveland could put out. He's going to be a better quarterback than what Pittsburgh could put out. Now, against the Ravens and the Bengals, that could go either way. They're more on an even plane. And that's why I think it's such a tough hurdle. It's weird, right? Because, and you know this from being a Dolphins fan, for years, the Patriots had the one great quarterback in the division, and everybody else didn't have any quarterback, right? You just had dudes, and it was Brady versus dudes, and you could almost pencil the Patriots in for 7 or 8 wins in the division because nobody else had quarterbacks. And now the Dolphins have a quarterback, the Bills have a quarterback, and it's interesting to see that. And now the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, and suddenly they went from no quarterbacks to 3 quarterbacks who have the potential to take their teams on deep playoff runs.
It's wild. Mo, let's pivot to this. What is the best day to get into a fight if you're a high schooler?
The best day?
The best day. What's the best day to get into a fight?
The last day of school.
Last day of school, right? Because there is no tomorrow.
Right.
There is no tomorrow. And Mo, if you're a senior in high school, there really is no tomorrow.
Correct.
Mo, imagine getting into a fight your senior year of high school on the last day of school. And then your school calls you up on your first day of college. And they're like, Mo, we know what you did. If you ever come back here, you are suspended, Mo. Mo, you would hang up the phone. You would be like, thanks for the looks. I appreciate I got other things going on over here. Mo, that's exactly how I feel with the NCAA and Jim Harbaugh. The NCAA came out yesterday and they dropped the hammer on Jim Harbaugh. Let me use their terms because I don't even know what these terms mean. They hit him with a 4-year show cause order. And what that means, Mo, is if he ever comes back to the NCAA, he is suspended for that first year. It doesn't matter what he does. He comes back to the NCAA, he is going to sit out of the first year of whatever contract he signs. And then after that, Mo, there's a bunch of regulations placed against him for the following 3 years as far as what he can attend, what he can participate in, what he cannot participate in. Oh, if I'm Jim Harbaugh yesterday, I just smirk. I say, really, guys? Does this make you feel good about yourselves? Because I feel great because I am going to be the head coach of the Chargers for at least the next 4 years. So while you're sentenced me to this 4-year no-show, I gotta be suspended. I can't go to this. I can't. I'm trying to win Super Bowls over here in the NFL. And by the way, guys, you know what? If it doesn't work out with the Chargers, I probably got my pick of the litter for my next job as well. Because after what I did in San Francisco and all the goodwill I've built up in the NFL, if it doesn't work with the Chargers, Mo, I can spin it. It wasn't me, it was them. And I can walk in and handpick my third job in the NFL. And as long as I make it over there, we good. So, Mo, I guess the NCAA feels good. I guess they feel good that they punished Jim Harbaugh. And oh, by the way, they still have another investigation pending against him, Mo. So they might even add on to this 4-year no-show cause nonsense. But I'm glad they feel good about themselves because I would have to imagine Jim could care less.
Why do they bother? Why do they do these things?
They got to win. They got to show, Mo, that they showed him.
Right, but they actually had to get together, gather a group of people into a meeting and sit down and go, we're not letting him get away with this. We're not letting him get away with this, even though you actually literally did let him get away with that. Michigan won the national championship, and they're not giving it back. You haven't asked for it to come back, so that's a done deal. He got away with it. And this laughable punishment after the fact, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh got a great laugh from that. I know he got a great laugh from this because, like you said, he's going to be the Chargers head coach for at least 4 years. And because I think he's actually really good at what he does, maybe he didn't have to win right away. But let's say year 2, they win going forward, but eventually he's no longer the Chargers head coach. You're 100% right. Someone's going to spin it and look at Jim Harbaugh and go, no, he's still a viable head coach in the NFL. So the idea of like he's going to be needing the NCAA's approval or worried about college football, I'm going to say at best he doesn't look towards going back to college football for the next decade. And that's if things don't go right for him in the NFL, which history says it will. But more importantly, he's already coached at his alma mater. I don't see him looking to go back anyway. You guys talking about if he ever comes back and somebody hires him, guess what? You're not going to be coaching for a year. And we have to interview them and ask them, what was your thinking when you hired? Like, What does that matter? What does that matter? The answer is going to be simple. What was our thinking? He's a damn good football coach. That's why we interviewed him and we plan on hiring him. Like, the NCAA, in trying to make themselves look powerful, Chris, trying to make themselves look like they have some sway, have done what they've done very good over and over again. They've made themselves look small and petty.
I just want to know, at any point, was there someone in the room who was like, is it worth it? Can we just, he's gone, right? Like, did anyone really think he's coming back? Like, I have to imagine some, and they were probably like, leave.
Right.
You're not here for what you leave.
You know, there was somebody in the meeting and go, wait a minute. You called me in here for this? All right, well, you guys go ahead and take the vote. You already know my damn vote. No, this is stupid. I'm out of here. Like you got me up early for this? He's already gone. He's already gone. What do you think's going to happen?
And that's on top of the fact that they've been having all these Harbaugh meetings for the better part of a year, where I'm sure in some of the earlier Harbaugh meetings, someone in the room was probably like, should we do it now while he's like, you all know he's leaving, right? Like, you hear the rumors, this guy won't be here next year. If we want to get him, let's get him now. Let's get him while we know he's going to be in-house, because he's leaving the house. And no. We got to go through the process. We don't want to look like a fool when this is over.
Right.
Let's go through the process so that we look like we handled business when it's all. Well, here we are, Mo. They handled business. All right. They showed him.
By the way, the guy that said we need to get him now because he's leaving, that's the same guy that walked out in the meeting the other day.
Right.
I tried to tell you people. Dumb. No one listens.
Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots' first game. Not the Patriots, the Steelers' first game this preseason. But don't worry, Mo, because Russell Wilson is still listed as quarterback one. Steelers fans, I understand your love affliction with Justin Fields. I understand that he is younger. I understand that he is more flashier. I understand the negative connotations that is associated with Russell Wilson after his 2-year stay with the Denver Broncos. And I also understand the entire, persona that Russell Wilson brings to the table. The happy-go-lucky, team first, just dropping the team slogan every chance that I get it. He rubs people the wrong way because he's trying so hard to be the face and the spokesman and the role model. I understand all of that. But again, I want to remind you that for every highlight that he has and all the sizzle, and he has so much sizzle, Mo, and Russ doesn't have the sizzle anymore. Russ isn't the guy that's going to rush for 600 or 700 yards a season, whereas Fields is the guy that could easily rush for 11 or 1,200 yards a season. Like, he is so much sizzle. The Pittsburgh Steelers historically are not a sizzle franchise. Historically, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a worksman franchise. Run the football, play good defense, take care of the football, don't cost us the game at the quarterback position. This is the same team that ran through a myriad of quarterbacks last season and somehow got themselves into the playoffs. This is the same team that was winning games with Kenny Pickett. Where is Kenny Pickett, Mo? No longer a Pittsburgh Steeler. Where is Mason Rudolph, Mo? No longer a Pittsburgh Steeler. The guys that they were winning football games with last season, that getting them into the playoffs last season, are no longer here. So if Russ can just be better than them, you would have to imagine they're going to be in the playoff conversation, because especially if they end up with Brandon Ayuk, who I think is an upgrade over what they currently have at the wide receiver position. So now you're giving them someone who's more dynamic, who's a true one in the NFL. I don't think he's a top 10 receiver, but he's a true one. So you add that into the mix, and yes, I think this team is going to be competitive for a playoff spot. but you don't need sizzle at the QB1 spot, Mo. You need someone who can do the small things, someone who's going to throw the ball away when they're supposed to, someone who's going to check out of a certain situation because they read the defense, someone who is not going to force the ball down the field and they would rather just take the incompletion than risk a turnover. I know Russ plays scared. Russ plays not to lose. I hear all of that. But Mo, when you're on a good team and you have a great defense and you have a good running game, maybe you want the guy in there that 9 times out of 10 is just going to play not to lose. And then when it comes game time, hopefully he plays to win. Now, it's a different conversation for later, Mo, because if we're 6 games into the season and they're 3-3, and in 2 of those games, Russ had the ball at the end of the game and he played safe and didn't push the ball down the field, now we're having a different conversation. Now we're saying Russ has lost the killer instinct. Now we're saying that Russ doesn't have it in him anymore. Now I'll entertain that. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, based on what we saw last season, you just need someone to make the right choices. And that's why I think Russ is their starting quarterback.
And I think the conversation that you and I had all last year about the Steelers were smoke and mirrors how they're winning games.
We had no idea how they were doing it.
Right. And we were saying if they just got comparable quarterback play to go with what they were doing, it's a 10, 11 win team who could compete in the division. I would argue that if Russell Wilson plays like Russell Wilson played last year with the Broncos, or slightly better, somewhere in that range, that is comparable quarterback play. Because what the Steelers want to do is they want to run the football. It's what they want to do. They want to run the football. And I think they want their quarterback to be able to make 2 or 3 big passes down the field, right? Maybe. But if they can win with their defense and their quarterback doesn't turn the football over and they get comparable play, they'll take that. They believe they're in competition to win the division. And I'm with you. I think Justin Fields, his ceiling is higher than Russell Wilson's ceiling, obviously, because Russ is on the other side of his prime. But if Russell Wilson plays well, I don't think Fields overtakes him. I think he's their quarterback. If the Steelers have an odd record and they're 1-4, it becomes a conversation for a change. But if they're on the other side of it, if they're 4-1 and they're doing well, and it's because Russ, he's not blowing the doors off statistically, but he's not costing you football games. He's directing your offense per the offensive coordinator. I don't think Russ is going to lose his job. I really do think if he can emulate anything like he did with the Broncos, with this run game, with this defense, I think Russ is going to hold on to the job.
I agree, Mo. Let's talk about some of the most hyped teams heading into the NFL season. Are we buying the hype or are we selling the hype? That is what we are talking about here this morning. Let's start with the Atlanta Falcons. If you live in Atlanta, you think this team is winning the division. You think that for the first time ever, you're going to have players who are actually being used to their greatest potential. Mo, are you buying or selling the hype in Atlanta?
I'm buying it. I do. And I'm buying it in part because I believe in Kirk Cousins as a quarterback directing that offense with all those weapons. I'm totally buying it.
I am also buying the hype. Kirk Cousins is one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks that we have seen in the last 15 or 20 years. I'm not talking about playoff Cousins. I'm not talking about primetime Cousins, just regular season games. He is the guy. His numbers have been good. He still has it. I know he's coming off of the injury, but he has some of the best weapons he has ever had around him in his career this year in Atlanta. I think he is going to have an MVP caliber year if he stays healthy, Mo. Look, you see all those gifts popping up over there on the TikTok side?
I just saw that. I was like, wow, that's really awesome. That's amazing.
It's a party over here, Mo. It's a party over here on the TikTok side of things. Mo, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. They got a lot of hype going on over there. Brand new quarterback, brand new wide receiver. They don't have a new head coach. They got a lot of pieces on the defensive side of the football. Are you buying or selling the hype of the Chicago Bears?
I think the Bears are going to have a good season. I'm not buying the hype that they're going to win 10 games. I can't in good faith just believe that If he's that good, Chris, and they're going to come in and win 10 or 11 games, then he is the guy that everybody projects him to be, and he's immediately up there with Mahomes and Joe Burrow. I got to see it to believe it, so I'm not buying the hype.
Yeah, I'm not buying the Bears hype either. Are they going to be better? Of course they're going to be better. They were terrible last season. Why do you think they have the quarterback that they have?
Right.
Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? No. Would I be shocked if they won 7 or 8 games? No, I expect
No.
them to win somewhere in the 6 to 8 game range. I just don't think they're a playoff team yet, but I am very interested in seeing what their quarterback does and what he actually is. But I think we're a little early on a playoff run if you're talking the Chicago Bears. Now, if you're talking the Detroit Lions, that's a different story. I'm buying all the hype of the Detroit Lions, Mo. I think the Lions are a Super Bowl contender in the NFC because I look at the NFC, Mo, and who are they running through? It's not Mahomes. So are you telling me that they can't get to an NFC championship game against the Eagles or the Niners or the Rams? I absolutely think they can. If you sit here and said, Chris, I looked into the crystal ball and it's going to be the Eagles and the Lions or the Niners and the Lions in the NFC championship game, do you believe that? I say, yes, I do. Yes, I do believe that because I love this Lions team. I love their head coach. I love Goff and the way he fits on this team. I think that this team is potentially going to make it to the NFC title game this season.
Here's the part that's tough to say. Sadly, as a Niners fan, I'm buying the hype. They're that good. I think Jared Goff, he's not a system quarterback, but he fits this system to a T. And the weapons they have in the backfield, on the outside, with their tight, they might be the most complete team in the NFC offensively. And they've got some playmakers on defense. They went out and just got better. So, look, while as an NFL fan, Chris, I'm excited. As a Niners fan, I'm leery because I know how good they can be. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm buying the hype that they very well could be in the NFC Championship game.
No, people think that I am not a Josh Allen fan and that I hate on Josh Allen. I will tell you right now, by the end of this season, Green Bay Packer fans are going to feel the exact same way about me because I am not a Jordan Love guy. And until he proves me wrong, I am not going to have the nicest things to say about Jordan Love. I think that Jordan Love is a good quarterback in this league. I think that he has potential to lead his team to the playoffs. But, Mo, I am not buying into the Jordan Love hype. I watched his games last season. I look back over his film this offseason at what he did at the quarterback position. He wasn't horrible, but he's also not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And that is where people are placing him. And that is where people are placing these expectations. I look at people who are saying Green Bay is going to win this division. And I sit here, I'm like, based on what? Jordan Love had 3.5 good games last season? And they're going to win the division. Like, I don't understand where it's coming from, Mo. I think Green Bay is a good team. If they make the playoffs, I'm not surprised. If they miss the playoffs, I'm not surprised. I think they're a middle-of-the-road team. I think they're trying to figure out, is Jordan Love the guy? Or is Jordan Love just an above-average quarterback? I lean towards above average. I know that I'm in the minority because a lot of other people think he's already borderlining on the great category. Okay, maybe I'm totally missing it, Mo, but I'm not buying the hype of the Green Bay Packers. I think that the Lions are the hype team in that division, and it's not Green Bay.
Then you're not on that hill alone because I'm with you. While I have no problem acknowledging that I think Jordan Love has the potential to be one of the top quarterbacks, I don't think he is. I haven't seen enough. And the reality is I'll give the Packers and Jordan Love all the credit, how they finished down the stretch, what they did in the playoffs versus the Cowboys. Well-deserved flowers. But here we are in year 2 with the full season ahead of us. And I'm a show-me guy. He's going to have to show me that he can do it over the course of a season again. Until then, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. We kill Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins for being great regular season quarterbacks. And they've done it for multiple years. He had a good stretch run, and I'll give him credit for that. But based off of that, I don't think he's that guy. I just don't see it.
We got the Houston Texans. Mo, I'm going to buy the Houston Texans. I like their defense. I like their coach. I like their quarterback. I'm not saying that I don't think he is actually. I don't think that Stroud's going to have the same year that he had last year. I think the league's going to catch up with him a little bit. So I think he's still going to be good, but I don't think he's going to play as well as he did last season. But I think the team is more talented around him. I think he has more weapons on offense. I think that defense is going to be better a year into that system. And I look at their division, and I think they're going to win the division. I know the Jaguars are in there, but they have a bunch of question marks as well, and they might even be on this list coming up. But I think they're going to win their division. So if I'm predicting them to win their division, I can't sit here and say I'm not buying into them if I have them going to the playoff as division winners.
I'm a big fan of Stroud, but I'm like you. Teams adjust. He's had the rookie year. I think he's the real deal. That doesn't mean he'll come back and have the exact same season, but I think with the additions that they added, with the leadership of DeMeco Ryans, the additions on defense, I think even though they're in a competitive division, I look at it this way. I look at who your coach is. We do this all the time. The NFL Genius tells us to. The quarterback and the coach and that marriage, I think in that division, they have the best marriage in that division. And I think they have the best overall talent in that division. I think they win the division. So I'm buying their hype.
Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think his ceiling is still very high. I think it's come down a little bit from where we thought his ceiling was. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He is in a situation that I would say Tua's in. And I know that Jaguar fans are going to kill me for this, because if you just do the eyeball test, Mo, and you just show some footage between Tua and Lawrence, I think most people take Lawrence as their starting quarterback. And I'm not going to kill you for that, because I think that as just a quarterback specimen, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback. But then you have to add in playmakers and fit and coaching and scheme and all those other intangibles, and you end up with slightly different situations. So I look at this and I look at Trevor Lawrence and I say to myself, they need to win a playoff game. He needs to stay healthy. They need to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball for this stretch of an entire season. That is what I need to see happen with Trevor Lawrence. And with a team like the Houston Texans in there, I don't know if they're going to do that this year. So if what you're selling me is the Jacksonville Jaguars are winning their division, I'm selling. If you're selling me the Jacksonville Jaguars are a playoff contender, I'll buy that all day. But I don't think they're the best team in their division.
I'm with you on this. I think the Jaguars are going to be fighting the Colts for the second team in that division to getting to the playoffs. But I'll buy that. I think Jacksonville is a playoff team. I think this is a big year for Sunshine / Trevor Lawrence. Look, if they're going to win the division, or if they were to win the division, he would have the type of season that people were waiting for him to have. That's what I believe. Do I believe he's going to have that type of season? I think he's going to have a good year, but I still think the Texans are going to win the division.
The Los Angeles Chargers, I am not buying the hype of the Los Angeles Chargers, because why the hell would you? They have nothing over there right now. They had a defensive head coach for the past couple of seasons who couldn't even figure out his side of the football. I know they have talent, a lot of talent on the defensive side. I think they're going to be better on the defensive side. But then you look at the offensive side. Who is Herbert throwing the football to? Eckler is gone. Both of his top wide receiver, is it Quentin Johnson? I think that's his name. Is he their third receiver that they drafted a couple of years ago? He's
right.
now their de facto number one.
Right.
And then you look at the fact that they got the Chiefs in their division. The Chiefs were going to win this division regardless. Sure, they could beat up on the Raiders and the Broncos, but I think you're looking at three teams in that division that aren't going anywhere. Maybe they're a 7-win team. Maybe they'll surprise us and win 8 games. I don't think they're a playoff team, Mo. So I can't buy hype around the Chargers.
Yeah, and I know we just had this conversation about how good a coach Jim Harbaugh has been, but I don't care how great a coach you are. If you don't have the talent on both sides of the football, you're not going to win many football games. What he has is he has himself and he has his quarterback in place. He knows that for sure. But in that current division, I'm with you. I think the Raiders, the Chargers, and I think they beat up on each other, right? I think they beat up on each other. I think you're looking at Denver, the Raiders and Chargers just kind of going back and forth. If Jim Harbaugh can lead them to 7 wins with what they have, I think that's a great year for the Chargers.
And then our last one is the New York Jets. As a Dolphin fan, it pains me to say this, but I am buying into the hype of the New York Jets because, Mo, as much as I sit here as a Dolphin fan and I hate the New York Jets, but it is very hard for me to look at Aaron Rodgers, who I do not hate, by the way. It is very hard for me to look at Aaron Rodgers, and I know he's 40. I know he's coming off a major injury, but he's 2 years removed from his second consecutive MVP season. And aside from Peyton Manning, is there a quarterback that was as good as Aaron Rodgers that just fell off a cliff that quickly? I don't think there is. And he was hurt last season. He didn't fall off the cliff last season.
Right.
He was hurt. So you take last season out of it, and the last time we saw him on the field playing a full season, he was the MVP of the league. And the season before that, Mo, he was the MVP of the league. So I look at Aaron Rodgers and I'm like, how can I sit here? And yeah, he missed the entire season with an Achilles, but it's not like he broke his leg. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that Achilles are harder to come back from when you're older, but it's not like he messed up his knee to the point where we're asking mobility questions, nor is he really a mobile quarterback anyways. He is a step up and shuffle to the left and shuffle to the left, a right kind of guy. That's his mobility. So I look at Aaron and I'm like, I think he's going to be close to what he was. I know he's a couple of years older, so sure, maybe he's a step behind where he was 2 years ago. But as long as they can protect him, and I think that's the biggest question. I don't think this is an Aaron Rodgers question. I think this is an offensive line question. If the line protects him, I think we're going to see what he was 2 years ago. If the line doesn't protect him,
I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I led with this is what I believe. I think the Jets, I think the AFC East division, I think the AFC is greatly dependent upon how good the Jets offensive line is. If the Jets offensive line protects Aaron Rodgers, and look, he's going to get sacked. We know that, but you know what I mean? Protect him and keep him upright for the most part, they're going to be in the AFC Championship game. And we're going to get a dream matchup. We're going to get Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. And both teams are going to have top 5 defenses, and that's going to be awesome. That's why I'm a little bit, as a fan, I love the idea of that, but I don't know how good that offensive line is. When we lead with if, that's the problem. So I don't know. I'm buying the hype of the Jets. I just don't know if we're going to get the results that we want.
And Mo, I am telling you right now, we marked this down last week. I'm going to mark it down again. If Aaron Rodgers plays close to his MVP numbers from 2 years ago, and the issue is they could not protect him, and he did not have time to throw the football, and they win, 10 games and they just miss the playoffs, or they get into the playoffs and the offensive line just absolutely collapses in a playoff game against a better defense, Aaron Rodgers is coming back next season, and he will be the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Because I'm telling you right now, if he looks like MVP Aaron, and the only issue is the Jets couldn't figure out the offensive line, he ain't coming back to New York if he still thinks he has it, and he showed the entire world that he still has it. He's going to go try to win a Super Bowl somewhere else. And I think Dallas is going to be too much to walk away from, because I don't think Dak plays there next season. And they ain't starting Trey Lance. You're not starting Trey Lance over Aaron Rodgers if he's available.
This has the potential, everybody, to play out like a soap opera. You're right. If Aaron Rodgers is MVP caliber Aaron, but ultimately their season is hurt in the playoffs or barely missing the playoffs because of the offensive line play, yeah, I could see him leaving. And yes, Jerry was going to make him a big offer of money. Aaron Rodgers goes to the Cowboys, and Dak Prescott goes to the Jets.
I love it. I
That
love it.
completely that's insane, and yet it makes so much sense.
I know it's great. It's great. Mark it down. Mark it down. I want to be the one on ESPN talking about it when it happens. All right. Someone save this video. All right, Mo. We got 3 minutes to go here. Let's talk about this. AEW just had a good meeting with Shane McMahon. Rumor has it they are getting close to bringing in Shane McMahon to the company in some capacity. I do want to say this, Mo. I like Shane. I don't know why they would bring him in. I don't know why they would waste money on Shane McMahon. I don't think you need a McMahon in your house as far as the wrestling operations stuff. Again, I don't know Shane. I'm not trying to say Shane has bad character, but I'm just asking, Tony, why would you want a McMahon in your house? Because once a McMahon, always a McMahon. I don't care what's going on with Papa Vince. I don't care what his relationship is with Stephanie. I don't care what his relationship is with Paul. Once a McMahon, always a McMahon. And if he ain't going there because he wants to do things that are nefarious, he's going there because he's looking out for himself. So the fact that Tony would have those have the conversation, because why not? But there is no way in hell, if I'm Tony Khan, I am bringing a McMahon into my house, because people already think Tony can't run his business on his own.
Right.
So why would you bring a McMahon in there? That's not going to help you any. So I understand Tony exploring the situation. I understand him. That's what businessmen do, right? They have conversations. Have the conversation. Go out to a nice lunch. Reminisce about Shane falling off of high objects and have a good laugh about it. But at the end of the day, if Tony has any business sense at all, and it looks like he has already decided that Shane's not a good fit, but you can't do that. You can't bring McMahon into the house.
You're trying to establish your own brand. And I don't care that Shane's not connected with WWE directly. He's a McMahon. It's as simple as what you said. He's a McMahon. If Shane goes there, Shane's going to promote Shane. And why would you even bring that into your house? You're establishing your own brand, your own identity as a leader of a company, as an owner of a company. I'm not bringing nobody that's connected to the McMahons into my house, period, point blank. To me, it would look like a sign of weakness. And what if Shane went there and things did get better and your numbers did go up? Then it would say that you needed help and you needed the help of a McMahon. That's not a good look for you either. So yeah, I'm with you. I am not dealing with any McMahon in my company.
And let's not forget, Shane McMahon, he had issues with WWE because of how he was trying to book himself. Vince told Shane, and this has been confirmed by people who worked in the company at the time, witnessing a backstage altercation. I know dad and son, they say things when they're angry, but there was a backstage altercation where Vince told Shane, get the F out of here. You're never going to work for this company again as long as I'm here. Because Shane was causing issues. He was booking himself to look better in the Royal Rumble over guys like AJ Styles. Like that's not good for business. And then now Vince is gone, and you would think, well, if Steph and Triple H wanted Shane back, wouldn't he just be back? You're right, he probably would, but he's not. So I look at it as, and I know that Shane has different assets outside of wrestling, and many people don't know that. Shane has been very successful overseas. He has been very successful in the tech world, out in Japan. He has a whole different empire that is not wrestling related. But Mo, I don't care. We're not bringing a McMahon in-house. Tony, if you know what's good for you, knock it off. Knock it off, Tony, because the only thing this does is make you look bad in the end. There is no win-win for you in this situation. All right, Mo, let's wrap it up on a Thursday.
Thank you guys so much for joining Chris and I this morning. Make sure you guys check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Make sure you're joining us tomorrow, same time, same place. We are going to continue with our NFL coverage. We're also going to check in on Team USA.